Okay, so let's create a Makefile. Now, a Makefile is a really powerful tool for managing coding projects. Now, we can use command line tools, and there's a great one called Serverless, and there's another one called Zapper, and there's a load of other command line tools for building Lambdas and serverless architectures. There's quite a lot of magic involved, and I kind of wanted to steer away, and I wanted to get something really basic that works. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is open up my Makefile, and I'm going to create a project variable, unique identifier. We're also going to use virtual env. So this is the directory of the virtual environment. Create a function name. So these are all just sort of essentially constants, variables that we are going to use in our Makefile. Function name is going to be called unique identifier. Then we are going to choose an AWS region, US East, and then we're going to have the function handler name, Lambda handler, and then we need the Lambda role that we created, and that's going to start with on something blah 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 blah. Well, let's look that up. Let's go into our IAM, go into our roles, click on basic role. This is our role name. Copy that. Let's paste that back in here. Okay. Now, what we can do is create default commands. Let's call this install, and this is going to create our virtual environment. These are just commands that our Makefile is going to run. Virtual, magically paste some stuff in here, set up a virtual environment. We can then test to see if this virtual environment exists. One of the things you notice at the end here is we've got a backslash. With Makefiles, you need to have everything on the same line. So we're just going to tell Python pip to install virtual env. We're then going to run virtual env and create our virtual environment. And then we're going to exit out of this. This is just a bash script. So this, in theory, should work. So I've already got virtual env installed. Now it has installed it into my directory. And if I list it, you can see env has been created. So that's the sort of virtual environment. Now we should be able to activate this virtual environment, and it's just a question of sourcing or executing the bash file, and then we want to run environment, and then our activate command there, and then we get a nice little activate down here. Let's clear the screen. Okay, so now we've got a virtual environment set up. We now need to do the next parts of the Lambda. So one of the things I like to do is package it all up into a temp file. So let's build that part of it now. There is going to be a command build package temp, and this is going to make a directory, and it's the long form. So if none of this exists, it's then going to create all of the path structure. So that's the -p. We're then going to copy all our project files. So we've already created our project variable. So this is the contents of that project directory into package temp, and that will do for now. One of the things to bear in mind with our Lambda is when you're building a Python Lambda, you need to include all the Python libraries. Now, the reason that we created a virtual environment is so that we can copy the Python libraries into our project. Okay, so let's create another command called copy Python, and it's going to check to see if our virtual environment exists. That's what test does. It's then going to copy the Python 2.7 library files, select packages, and it's going to copy them into our package temp directory. Let's close that. And then if we're using a 64-bit architecture, you might want to do the same for that. So the reason being is if we created this Lambda on a build box, which might be a 64-bit one, then we'll get the 64-bit compiled files. Now, one of the other things is although we've copied those files over now, there are a load of unused Python files that we just don't need, and it just bloats up our packaged up Lambda, which means that we can't put as much code in there, and it becomes a bit heavier, and I suppose essentially it might cost us something, but not much. So I'm going to create a remove unused command, and this is just going to get rid of Python files and directories that we just don't need. Okay, so it removes the wheel directory, the easy install directory, and the setup tools. We just don't need those. Finally, the last thing that we need to do is zip this all up. Let's create a zip command, go into that directory. Obviously, we now know that it's going to be called package, it's in temp, and what we want to do is go into that directory, use the zip command recursively to copy everything and give it the name of the project file.zip. And then finally, that should be it. Okay, so let's go back up here and create our default for building all of this stuff. So it's going to be build, we're going to do build package temp, copy, remove, and then zip. Okay, so you get the idea. Now, one of the other things that we might want to do is to clean up this package once we've created. We might want to actually remove this build package directory. So let's create a very quick clean package command. And all that's going to do is rm-rf, put in the package directory, and we're just going to tell it to delete everything, all files and all subdirectories underneath that. Okay, should we try this out? See if it works. So we should be able to do make build. There we go. We have a unique identifier zip file. I don't know if you can see that, but here we go. So this is in our package directory that exists. And if I do clean package, that will remove it. And if I look at it now, oops, I just need to remove all the subdirectory stuff. Sorry, I was getting ahead of myself and not really thinking. Right, so if I do that, and if I then do make clean package, that should delete the contents of the package. And we might also want to clean our package before we build it. There we go. So now we've got a really powerful Makefile, which will create a package directory, copy all the files that we need, so all our Python files, copy in our main project files as well, and that should all work. Maybe what I should do just to prove it, make build, and if I go into that package directory and look at the temp folder, because essentially that's what we're doing. If I open this up, here we go, you can see what it's created. So this essentially I've unzipped the zip file, and this is what's inside it. We've got our pip, which is if we're using pip for our dependency management, then that's that. Then sort of distribution stuff, package resources, that's all sort of standard Python stuff, and then our unique identifier Python code. So this is a perfectly valid and hopefully working Lambda, and we can test that by pushing it up and seeing what happens. So let's get rid of our unique identifier here, and there's going to be a nicer way of doing this in a minute. So I'm going to delete that, boom. I'm going to create a Lambda function. Choose a runtime, Python. Create a blank function, click next. It's going to be called unique. It's going to be Python Lambda code. I'm going to upload a zip file, choose my zip file. Yes, here we go. And package zip file, open. Cool. Ignoring the environment variables to start with. Lambda function. Oh, I might need to change that to be the name. I think I need to change that. I think I need to change that to that. You might have to bear with me. I think I need to do that. Then choose an existing role. Yes, we've done that. Pung that up to 15 seconds. Then you do that. Don't do that. That's it. Cool. Next. Happy days. Yes, yes, yes. Create function. With any luck, that should work, and we should be on our road to Lambda heaven. Great, it seems to have created it all right. We can see it's all there. Don't need any triggers. Right, let's try a test. Pass in those variables like we normally did. Save and test, save and test. Yes! Awesome. So we've packaged it up as a zip file, pushed it up onto Amazon, run some configuration, and boom, it all seems to work. That is very cool indeed.